All right, welcome, Rylee. Happy to have you here today. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
Yay! I'm
Yeah,
excited to be
so
here.
yeah, so we last year we embarked on a journey to start a film, and the elements and God and everyone involved in the process um, basically decided that we would finish it next year or this year now in 2025. So I would love to chat about you a little bit about your backstory, who you are, and how we got to this point. But I just also want to read your bio because it's impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, but I don't think so. Diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at a young age, obviously faced a lot of challenges with this genetic disorder, but you're on a mission to make history as the first woman with cystic fibrosis to paddle the full 80 miles from the Bahamas to Florida across the Gulf Stream. That tells us a little bit about the film and that whole realm of things. But tell us about Rylee. Tell us about growing up in a short, 3 to 5 minute little snippet, like what it was like growing up with CF and how you managed to maintain your quality of life and now living, as an adult, what it's like.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was 3 months old, and it was all because my grandma kissed my forehead and she said I tasted salty. It like sparked like this, oh, she might have this, this, and this, but I have a family member who has passed away named Jesse that had cystic fibrosis. So that was a connection there. Um, till that led to my diagnosis when I was younger. But growing up, my family was really involved in my health. They all helped with like natural ways, keeping me really physically active, to keep my lungs working very well. I would also say when I was growing up, I had this determination in my own brain that I wasn't different. I didn't look at myself different from someone else. Um, so I would always put myself involved in all the school activities, sports. I played three sports all through middle school and high school, to keep myself active and keep me healthy. And I did traveling sports as well because like what other activities would a young girl do besides sports and being involved in school, you know? So
Hmm.
I feel like I had a really normal childhood compared to other people with cystic fibrosis. I'm very blessed and thankful, but I also have seen the other side of CF where my cousin, he was not in the highest spirits at times, or you could tell he was really struggling. I got to see Jesse in the hospital about, oh man, when was that? I think it was in 2019 was the last time I got to see him, or 2018. Let me fact check that, but I got to see him before he passed away, and that was just kind of a heartstring puller for me because my cousin was so young when he passed away. It made me really open my eyes to I need to do something big for myself and especially for the community because who else is gonna do it?
How
Um,
old was he?
oh, 26, I believe.
Mm.
I'll have to double check that too, but I think he was
What's the
26 when
average
he
life?
passed away.
Yeah, what's I mean, the life expectancy with cystic fibrosis could range, right?
So when I was born, they told my mom I wasn't going to make it till 13. They're like, she has this, this is where what the average is, but all the medical advances and treatments that kept evolving like made it better for me to, survive. And now I think the average lifespan is 45, so it's definitely gone up due to the advances. But the idea of being in high school and like just getting ready to graduate high school, knowing like, oh, life expectancy is so short, I'm going to have to make the most of it. And well, now here I am paddling across the ocean, like it just gone from one thing to another. I would say having that mentality of the life expectancy is so short. I've always put myself into like big situations or big events in a sense to like be fulfilling. You know, I
Mhm.
never thought I would have kids someday. I never thought I would be in like such a stable marriage someday. Like these things of like what everybody looks to and hopes for as we get older. It just they didn't seem like I was gonna get there. So I kind of wanted to put myself into those and experience these situations. And here I am paddling across the ocean, like a dramatic, big experience. But deep down to the core of like why I do it is because Jesse never got to. If I never took that leap, I never would have gotten to. And there's people out there with cystic fibrosis right now that are in hospital beds that can't walk down the stairs or can't go
Mhm.
outside right now. Like I do this for them to show them that we can do these things if we put ourselves out there and put ourselves to do big things.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about obviously paddling across the ocean. That's the event Crossing for Cystic Fibrosis, which is put on by Piper's Angels. So talk a little bit about Piper's Angels and your relationship with them, and how what they do for the community.
Yeah, so the Piper's Angels Foundation, we help families with people with cystic fibrosis. Hold on, let me rephrase that. We help cystic fibrosis warriors and their family through different times in their lives. We offer programs called like our Breathworks program, our Unmasked Mindfulness program, or urgent financial assistance grants. We do those to benefit people with cystic fibrosis. The Piper's Angels Foundation, we're not searching for a cure for cystic fibrosis. We are searching to find ways to improve the quality of life for people with cystic fibrosis. And being part of this team and being part of the growth of this organization has been huge. And I got involved about, I would say, 5 years ago when I met Travis for the first time. 6 years ago, actually, now I met Travis for the first time at the National Cystic Fibrosis Conference through mutual CF Warrior friends. And since then, I've always had it in the back of my mind. I wanted to do the event and wanted to be involved. And well, next thing you know, I packed my life up from Montana, moved down to Florida for a year, was a mentor, volunteered as much as I could. I paddled and I just found the growth within that community, not just with people with cystic fibrosis, but just in the paddleboard community itself. There are so many amazing people that have these big hearts and this love. Like there's people that don't have any relation to cystic fibrosis at all. And they come because they stay for the cause and not just because it's a paddleboard challenge, but because of the people they meet and the community and the family that grows. And bringing people into the event is probably the most rewarding thing too. Someone that doesn't have cystic fibrosis, someone that doesn't know about CF, it opens a whole new world for them. So I'm currently right now also a mentee. Oh wait, hold on, let me rephrase that. Currently right now I'm a mentor for the crossing as well. So I get to mentee all the people with cystic fibrosis that are paddling across the ocean. And I also have some other mentees and it's just been a great experience that way. And I'm also, how do I want to say that? I'm also an intern for the foundation as well. So I'm currently doing the urgent financial assistance grants. I'm helping with those.
Incredible. So the event was inspired once the community realized the health benefits of being on the ocean when you have cystic fibrosis. So share a little bit about that, in your experience, moving from, Montana to Florida and being in the ocean and being in the salt air and all that stuff. And then going to the Bahamas multiple years in a row and participating in the event, in whatever facet it may be. Tell us like how does the salt air and the water like really make a difference?
Yeah, I truthfully, I was kind of skeptical because I do a nebulizer treatment, like it's hypertonic saline, so it's 7%, so it is like a saltwater base. And I have been doing that treatment for as long as I can remember. So I was kind of skeptical about how that was going to go and like how that was going to work for me. So when I moved from Montana to Florida, not even 2 or 3 weeks, I felt a different in my lungs. I moved right before the event in 2023. Being in the Bahamas for the week, I could feel my lungs just taking those deep breaths were a lot easier. You know, like it was, yay, yes, maybe I'm at sea level or whatnot, but that salt air itself, I felt a tremendous difference. Being out in being out paddleboard training with all my friends, being at the beach, like you can tell. I think it was my friend Lindsay. She mentioned it to me, and Casey, she also mentioned it to me. She's like, go to the beach for an hour a day. That's like doing your treatments, you know, like
Hmm.
being around that salt air. So it definitely is a huge impact. And I've noticed a lot more people with cystic fibrosis move to Florida just for that health benefit of the ocean.
Incredible. So obviously, the event raises money for Piper's Angels. So people are paddling in the event. They fundraise. That money goes to Piper's Angels, which then allows CF warriors to get connected with other people, get a better quality of life, maybe machines, treatment, whatever that might be, which is all incredible, you know. And me, from being someone who's very like lightly exposed to it, you know, I had a friend growing up in high school who had CF, but you never really know like what like you just never really know until you spend time with someone who has it, and it's just really inspiring to see you and your journey and all that. And you know, we got connected, and this is a God thing, right? Because
Exactly.
I'm a part of a lot of different Facebook groups, you know, and I actually, when I was searching your name on Facebook the other day, I was like, to make sure that like we were friends or following each other. And I saw the post that you made. It was in a freelance videographer group in Facebook, which I'm a part of a few here in Florida, because you never know. You could get clients, you could get work, you could get networking around. And I commented on your post, you know, and then I think you had connected with somebody else, and then the plans fell through. I was on a plane to Colorado. You called me and was like, "Hey, can we start this documentary in 2 weeks?" And I was like, "Let's get it," you know. So that's how our journey started. And you know, we went to the Bahamas, and you know, I love the way that it all happened, because to be honest, I felt like I was ill prepared for the whole entire thing, you know. But that's life. You need to jump in sometimes when you feel like you're unprepared. Otherwise, how are you going to grow? How are you going to stretch yourself to the limits of what you think is possible, unless you actually just jump in and start doing it, right? So we jumped in, we started
Exactly.
doing it, and then you know, the weather, you know, prevented us from completing our or your event, the paddle.
That's
And I
our
was
event.
like,
You're there. You're
yeah, you
there
know
with
what?
me the
And we
whole
were,
way.
yeah, and you were super bummed. Everyone was bummed. It was like a safety thing. It was like just wasn't worth it to take the risk. But I was just very grateful, because we had another year to prepare. You have another year to train. We're able to put out this trailer that we put out, which was really cool. And now we're able to try to raise some money for the film, which at the end of the day, you know, we're trying to raise money for the film, for the production of it. But at the end of the day, it's all just to raise awareness for CF, for Piper's Angels, for the Crossing for Cystic Fibrosis. So it's all just spreading awareness, right?
Exactly.
So so yeah, I mean, it's like it's one of those things where you just have to dive in, you know. And if I've learned anything in my 38 years on this earth, is that you're never fully prepared.
And
You just
if you take that vision that you're saying right now, like you're never fully prepared, in reference to someone with cystic fibrosis, we never know with our health what's going to happen. There's a week span that I'm at my top tier. I can run a 7 minute mile. I can do these things. And in a blink of an eye, I get sick from something so little. It could be the common flu, and I'm down for 4 days. Or I
mm,
get pneumonia, or my test results for my liver come back and they're not correct. Like there's so many what ifs with cystic fibrosis, like trying it this way, trying it that way. But if you don't go head first into living your life and evolving as a person and not letting something define you, then you're not going to be somewhere where you want to be. You know, like you have to
mhm.
put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I feel like a life with cystic fibrosis is kind of uncomfortable all around. So it gives me that, I'll say it gives me a benefit of living that lifestyle every single day. And I'm really hoping that the trailer and this documentary that we create together is shown to people with cystic fibrosis who don't have cystic fibrosis, that you need to take those leaps, those big ideas, those big thoughts, those big inspirations, whatever you have that you've been thinking about, you just need to act on them, because you don't know. Like my cousin Jesse, his end came. Mine could be in a year. You never know what could happen. So you need to hop on these opportunities and do these big things. And I will say this documentary is one of the biggest things I've ever done in my life. If I had to look back at myself 5 years, 10 years down or in my past and be like, little Rylee, you're gonna be doing a documentary, you're gonna be doing big things, I would believe you because I believe in myself in that aspect. Like I knew I could do something like this, and I want to help inspire other people to do this too.
Yeah, I think that's why filmmakers create stories. We put pieces like this together. It's just the foundational element of life is short, life is fragile, but life is also what you make it, right? And whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your life, you can, with hard work and dedication, you can go and accomplish that, you know? So it's the same thing with me. You know, we all have our story, we all have a past. You know, I struggled for many, many years with my own stuff. And, you know, to think that I would be where I am today was far fetched to me as well. But it's just like, you know, you just you just need to get out there and live, you know, at the end of the
Exactly.
day.
Put your faith and your trust in the Lord that something big is going to happen your way. Like how we met,
Yeah.
that was not on that wasn't just an accident. There was something there, a seed was planted that we didn't know about. And when everything fell through and I called you that day, obviously I was in a panic because we're leaving to the Bahamas in less than a week and a half. I'm overwhelmed, I'm
Yeah.
stressed, and those feelings, but everything happens for a reason. God put you in my life to help me create this, to spread awareness, and He gave, like, this is an opportunity He saw for you as a business development too, and your own personal growth. So,
Yeah, it's like manifesting, you know, like I said to myself, like this was before you made the post and we connected. I was like, I want to do more documentary work, more narrative work, you know, tell more stories because a lot of what I do is, you know, social media content, business stuff, branding for companies and all that stuff, which is great, you know. But the emotional impact is just limited when it comes to that type of stuff, right? But when you create something like this, you know, we see from the response that we get from the trailer, you know, thousands and thousands of views across multiple channels and like people commenting and like everybody's super excited for the film. You know, I don't think anyone is excited as we are, but it's one of those things where it's like it's really a difference maker, which is what I like about it.
the for the people that like know who I am to my core, my personality and my energy, just by that trailer, it is to a T describes who I am. The energy, the fun, the excitement. And I'm really looking forward to shedding the light on like the other version of feeling and the actual hard work and the energy that goes
Hmm.
into it, and the real life of like what it's like with cystic fibrosis. Because on
Yeah,
the outside, I'm smiley, I'm bubbly, I'm giggly, but there is times with having cystic fibrosis in my life, it's been dark. It's been hard, and a lot of those times those things aren't shown because I want myself to be portrayed as someone to be happy.
right.
I want people
But
to
it's also
see
important to
like
show those struggles
exactly.
because without struggle, there's no triumph.
And here we
You know.
are 163 days away from going to be one of the
Yeah.
biggest challenges so far, paddling
Yeah.
80
So
miles.
let's talk about that for a couple minutes. Obviously, it's an 80-mile paddle, right? I can barely even run 3 miles without like having a freaking breathing attack, you know. So I can only imagine what it's like for you, let alone or for anybody really paddling the 80 miles and then adding in the challenge of you know CF on top of that. I know you have experience in the past with the event doing the relay. You know, so tell us a little bit about that, and then you know some of the challenges you faced. You know, while doing that alone.
Yeah, when I first started the event, I went in as a four-person relay with three amazing women. Some of them didn't know about CF, some of them knew about the event, and some of them were past. They were all across the board. Some of us were new and unexperienced paddlers like me, coming from Montana to paddle across the ocean in a couple weeks. that experience was really humbling for me because it gave me the realization that I could do so much more. I felt like
Mm.
I kind of limited myself in a sense. But the experience overall, I wouldn't change for anything. It being out in the middle of the ocean for my first time at sunrise with my friends and my captain that I just met a couple months prior over Zoom, never meeting face to face, we all were instantly connected and became family forever. Like, I met so many new people. For physically, though, when we crossed that finish line, I had a sense of accomplishment, but I also had the sense of, I need to do this again. I need to give my
Yeah.
all. I need to put myself to the test
So
and
each
push myself
person
harder.
paddled 20 miles?
Somewhere around then. Sometimes one of our team members got sick, another one would get seasick. Two of us were switching back and forth, but it was a team effort to get across. It doesn't matter how many miles you paddle. If you
Okay.
paddle 1, 3, or 5, you still completed it. It is a huge triumph, even just to pass those mental fear barriers of paddling across the ocean, paddling at night. You
Yeah.
did it. So
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, the crossing for cystic fibrosis starts at what is it, 11 p.m. or midnight?
so we launched from the beach at midnight in
Right,
the
so
pitch black.
midnight, yeah, dark. You can't see anything. Imagine that. You're on the beach in Bimini, Bahamas, and you're about to hop on your paddleboard and basically go into the darkness. And there's
Exactly.
sharks.
There are sharks. There are
There's
sharks,
wildlife.
stingrays. Like, you are
Yeah.
in the middle of the ocean. But when you are paddling, it is so surreal. You have you can't see anything. You have your boat in front of you with your team supporting you.
Hmm.
You're not looking behind you. Like, what's behind you is behind you. You have your team watching. You are looking ahead. You are pushing yourself ahead. You are doing the event. But I will say, when I got on the boat for our first switch, because I was very thankful that my team allowed me to launch from the beach for my first
Nice.
year. When I looked back after getting on that paddleboard and seeing a small line of light from the Bahamas, that's really when it sunk in. And like 6 miles out, I'm not going to see that anymore. I'm going to be in the middle of the ocean. I'm going to be
Yeah.
paddling in the Gulf Stream and have no idea where I am until that sunrise hits. And when sunrise hits, you still don't see anything. Like,
Yeah.
there's no landmarks around you, but it comes to a conclusion of like, this is this is my time.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
my world. This is my zen.
How did your lungs feel during that race, during that paddle? Like, do you feel
Yeah,
like out of breath? Like, was it hard to maintain like composure, or were you calm and like your breathing is good, but it's more like your arms and legs that are hurting? Like, physically, what's happening?
yes, for me, I felt like my lungs were top tier. Like, I
Mm.
really put time and energy into being physically fit, doing my treatments and being really active with those things to make sure that I could do this event. I would say the worst part for me was making sure I ate. Like, I was so focused on what was going on, like making sure I was eating something, staying hydrated. But when I was on the board, my toes would get blisters. And
Mm.
those were the worst things. Like,
You
that
wouldn't
going
even
into
you
this
wouldn't even
year,
think about that.
no, going into this year, when we go again, like, we're wrapping those little piggers up. Like, we're not messing around this year.
So your toes were the most painful, not your legs, not your arms, your shoulders, your lungs. It was the toes.
No, they say the crossing, like, it is a very physically demanding event.
Right.
But 20% of that is physical. 80% is mental. The crossing is 80% mental of getting past your fears. Continue being motivated, continuing
Hmm.
remembering your why, that you're paddling, like who you're paddling for, why you're paddling. And I just remember being out there surrounded with my team and just being like, these people here are paddling with me, for people like me. That's what kept me going. I will say the aftermath, though, when I crossed the beach landing and my adrenaline came down that night, when I got back to the Airbnb with my family, I couldn't move. My body was tired, my
Hmm.
lungs were tired, I was tired. But that tired and that feeling was so relieving and had so much. I had so much gratitude knowing that having cystic fibrosis, my body allowed me to do that and worked hard for me to achieve that.
Right. Talk about eating real quick. You said you weren't eating, or it was like it's 16 to 18 hours, right? Depending upon
Yep.
pace. All right. So most people, they eat every freaking 2 hours, you know? So what do you do? Do you have to stop? Do you have a pack? Do you have the gels, or what's it all look like?
So I have the waist pack for my hydration, and I would have it on my board if I really needed it. But since I was on a four-person relay, we swapped on and off. So you'd be on for 30 minutes, off for an hour and a half, so like we had a good rotation um,
Okay. So you'd have to
until
make
our
sure you're
teammates,
eating
some
when
of
you're
our
on the boat.
teammates. Yep. So you would rest. Basically, after I paddled, went to the front of the boat. I rested for 30 minutes. I got up for 30 minutes, had a snack, and watched our person paddle, and then like wake myself back up, and then got on the board. So it was just like a continuous rotation. But once our teammates, we all started getting sick, we had to pull kind of longer shifts. So we were doing 40 minutes at a time or an hour at a time. And in those hours, our teammates and our crew members would feed us food on the board. So they just pass us like a granola bar. We eat a granola bar real quick and then go. Um, but
So everybody
for
got
me,
seasick.
not everybody. I'm very thankful that I didn't get seasick. I thought I
Okay.
was, especially from coming from Montana, but I did not get seasick.
Was
My
everybody wearing the patches or what?
Maddie, my crew member, she actually wore the patches, and she does not remember the whole event.
Too
She was
drowsy.
she ended up she was super drowsy, and
Yeah.
she when we woke up and we were there, she like looks at me, she's like, "How did we get here? I don't remember." Like
Yeah.
she had
I
no
wore
idea.
one on the way over because it was 6 to 8 feet. And I was a little
Yep.
scared that I'd be throwing up when we got there and we needed to get to work right away. So I wore it. But I didn't get seasick, but I did feel drowsy. And I was like, I don't like feeling like this. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
So I would rather be awake and a little bit nauseous than like not nauseous and like freaking asleep.
That was one thing for me is I didn't wear the patches. I didn't take any medicine because I've never done it before, so I didn't want to risk myself. Um, but having the opportunity being there last year to just like living in Florida and to train, I tried a couple of them. I always felt drowsy afterwards. So I was like, I can't do this. So
Yeah.
if I have to puke in the middle of the ocean, I'm going to puke in the middle of the ocean. It's
Yeah.
okay.
So obviously, we mentioned earlier, that the whole point of us, having the conversation is to just build awareness about what we're doing, and also the fact that we're looking for sponsors for the film. So if you're out there and you're watching this, or you find this on social media, or any of this speaks to you, if you're connected to somebody who has cystic fibrosis, or if you just want to be involved in a film that's going to change and potentially save lives, reach out to me or reach out to Rylee. There's multiple ways that people can get involved. And not only are you able to participate in this film, which the cause is incredible, you'll actually get assets. Like if you have a business that wants to donate, you'll get marketing assets for your company that will allow you to, push your branding and your narrative and whatever it is, the mission of your company, to push that forward. And all the money that we can raise for the film that's being donated will go through Piper's Angels, which is a 501c3, so it is fully tax deductible, which is just another little cherry on top of everything that we've been working on so far.
Yeah, I guess my last thing I'll add to that is to like the sponsors that are listening and have been shared this quick little video. Just from my point of view, thank you for taking the time. And also, thank you for thinking about how big of a difference this is going to be. As someone with cystic fibrosis, I live with it daily. I see what life is like and how we can make a difference. And I believe this is one way we can inspire and make a difference. This film itself is one of the biggest achievements and accomplishments I want to do for myself. But I also want to inspire those with cystic fibrosis to do the same thing. I want to see 10 new people with cystic fibrosis every single year for the crossing, taking that leap, taking that journey, and conquering those fears of paddling in the ocean. And this is one way, and deep down in my heart, I know can help make a difference. And I hope you can be part of that with us.
Incredible. What's the quote that you dropped at the end of the trailer? Can you remember it?
I'm terrified.
You think no, you think big, you think big, you think bold,
You
you
think
think
bold, you
courageous,
think
right?
courageous. Yes,
That's right.
that
So
for me is a sum up of core words for people with cystic fibrosis. We're courageous, we're bold. We will take those chances. We will do what it takes to be healthy to live our lives.
all right, thank you so much, Riley. Peace.